Chapter 16, The Plan. Louis couldn't believe what he had just heard. His head swam with a mix of fear and frustration as Zane relayed the news. "They've put a price on your head, Lou," Zane repeated, his voice tense. "We need to move now before they catch up to us." Harry's face paled. "A price," he whispered. "Why? Why are they doing this?" "It's control, Harry. They're losing it, and they want it back," Zane replied, his eyes flicking toward the window. "If they get Louis, they'll use him as leverage to keep everything in check." Louis' heart hammered in his chest, but he didn't have time to process. There was a knock on the cabin door, and all three of them froze. "Are we expecting someone?" Harry asked, panic rising in his voice. "No," Zane said, his voice low. He reached for the gun at his side, moving toward the door cautiously. Before Zane could open it, a familiar voice called from the other side. "It's Liam. Let me in." Louis blinked in surprise. "Liam." Zane threw the door open, and Liam stepped inside, his expression serious. "You guys need to move. Now." Harry rushed over to Liam. "How did you find us?" "I've been tracking them," Liam explained, his tone clipped. "I knew they were onto you, so I kept close. There's no time to explain more, they've got people everywhere. You've got to get out of here." Louis stood, his mind racing. "Where can we even go?" "They'll find us wherever we are." Liam shook his head. "Not if we get you underground. There's a safe house, one they won't expect. But we have to leave immediately." Harry grabbed Louis's hand, his knuckles white. "Let's go. I'm not losing you to these people." Liam didn't wait for a response, leading him out the back of the cabin to a black SUV parked in the shadows. Zane took the passenger seat, keeping his eyes sharp for any signs of pursuit, while Liam drove. As the car sped through dark, empty roads, Louis glanced at Liam. "Why are you helping us? You're risking everything." Liam gave him a quick look before focusing back on the road. "Because I know what's at stake. They tried to control me too, remember? But I got out, and I'm not going to let them destroy you." Louis felt a wave of gratitude but also a renewed sense of determination. He wasn't going to let these people win, not after everything he and Harry had been through. Hours passed in silence, with only the hum of the car's engine filling the void. Eventually, Liam turned onto a dirt road leading to an abandoned factory. "This is the place. It's been off the radar for years." They quickly got out and moved inside, locking the heavy steel door behind them. The space was dark and cold, but it was safe. "For now." Liam turned to the group. "We'll stay here for the night. Tomorrow, I'll reach out to a few trusted contacts. They can help us lay low and come up with a plan." Louis nodded, but a thought tugged at his mind. "How long can we keep running?" Liam's face darkened. "As long as it takes, mate. But I promise you, we'll find a way to end this." Harry squeezed Louis's hand, his voice soft but firm. "We'll end it together." The night dragged on, filled with restless sleep and anxious thoughts. When morning finally came, Liam was already on the phone, speaking in hushed tones. Zane, leaning against the wall, kept his eyes on the small windows for any sign of movement. When Liam finally hung up, he turned to them. "I've got good news. There's a way out of this. But it's risky." Louis frowned. "What do you mean?" "There's a major player in their operation who's willing to cut a deal. If we can expose everything they're doing, we'll bring them down from the inside. But it means going public, making all of this known." Harry's eyes widened. "You mean, we'll have to go on the record?" Liam nodded. "It's the only way. If we can show the world what they've been doing, the corruption, the control, they won't be able to hide anymore. But once we do, there's no going back." Louis swallowed hard. This was the final step, the one thing that could either free them or trap them forever. But deep down, he knew it was the only choice. "I'm in," Louis said, his voice steady. "Let's end this." Harry nodded beside him. "We're in this together." Liam's expression softened. "All right, then, let's get to work." As they sat around a makeshift table in the dark factory, Liam laid out their options. "We need to gather evidence, everything we can find about their operations, their dealings, and the people involved. We'll need to move fast before they catch wind of what we're doing." Zane leaned forward, a spark of determination in his eyes. We can hack into their network. I've got a few contacts who can help us get access to their files. Louis looked between the two, feeling a mix of anxiety and hope. And what about Harry and me? We can't just sit back while you do all the dangerous stuff. Liam placed a reassuring hand on Louis' shoulder. You guys will be our eyes and ears. We need you to gather intel from the outside. You know them better than anyone. If you can get close to the right people, it'll give us the leverage we need. Harry nodded, squeezing Louis' hand tighter. We can do that. We'll figure out who to talk to. Liam glanced at the wall clock, which ticked ominously. We don't have much time. They'll be searching for you both. We need to act before they close in. As they formulated their plan, Zane reached out to his hacker contacts, sharing information and setting up a way to infiltrate the enemy's network. Meanwhile, Harry and Louis compiled a list of individuals they could approach, people they knew were either sympathetic to their cause or might have valuable information. When the sun began to set, the tension in the room heightened. We're ready, Liam said, his voice steady. Just remember, stay low, stay safe. If anything feels off, get out. We can't afford to lose either of you. I'm not going anywhere, Louis replied, his voice filled with conviction. Harry nodded in agreement. We'll be careful, we promise. Liam gave them a small smile before turning serious again. Good, Zane. Let's get to work on the hacking. As Zane moved to his laptop, Louis felt a surge of adrenaline. They were finally taking control of their fate. He and Harry exchanged determined looks, silently vowing to protect each other no matter what. The next day, Louis and Harry set out to meet with a contact named Claire, a former employee of the organization. They arrived at a small cafe in the city, where they hoped to extract information about the people in charge. Louis was nervous, his palms sweaty as they sat at a secluded table. What if she's not willing to talk? Harry squeezed his hand under the table. We'll make her see that we're on her side. We just need to show her how serious this is. Just then, Claire walked in, her eyes scanning the room until they landed on Louis and Harry. She approached their table, her demeanor cautious. You two shouldn't be here. It's too dangerous. Louis leaned forward, lowering his voice. We need your help, Claire. We know what they're capable of, and we're not going to let them control us anymore. She hesitated but eventually sat down, glancing around nervously. What do you want from me? Information, Harry replied, his tone steady. We need to know who's behind the recent operations, who's pulling the strings. We have to expose them. Claire sighed, her expression conflicted. You have no idea what you're asking. These people are ruthless. They won't hesitate to eliminate anyone who threatens them. Louis felt his heart race. We're willing to take that risk. We can't live in fear anymore. After a tense moment, Claire finally nodded. All right, I can help. But you need to understand, this is dangerous. If they catch wind of what you're doing, it could end badly for all of us. Harry leaned in closer, desperation in his eyes. We're ready for whatever comes next. We've come too far to turn back now. Claire leaned back, weighing her options. Fine, I can get you a list of the key players. But you have to promise me one thing, if things get hairy, you get out. Don't try to be heroes. Louis nodded, feeling a sense of urgency. We promise. Just help us get the information we need. Claire hesitated again but then pulled out her phone, typing quickly. Meet me tomorrow at this location. I'll have everything you need. As they exchanged contact information and made their way back to the car, Louis felt a rush of adrenaline. This was their chance. If they could gather enough evidence, they might just be able to turn the tide. Back at the factory, Liam and Zane were poring over the data Zane had managed to extract from the enemy's network. The tension in the air was palpable as they sifted through files, searching for any leads that could help them. Okay, we've got a list of their operations and key players, Zane said, pulling up a document on the screen. But it's all coded. We'll need some time to break it down. Louis and Harry burst through the door, breathless. We found her, Harry exclaimed, unable to contain his excitement. Claire's going to help us get intel on the people behind this. Liam looked up, intrigued. What did she say? She's meeting us tomorrow with a list of key players involved, Louis explained, his voice steady. This could be it, the information we need to expose them. Zayn leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. That's good news, but we need to be careful. If they catch wind of you two talking to her, it could be disastrous. Liam nodded, his expression serious. We need to set up surveillance. If they're watching you, we can't let them see your faces. We'll have to be discreet. Louis felt a knot form in his stomach. The gravity of their situation weighed heavily on him, but he wasn't about to back down now. We'll do whatever it takes. I won't let them control my life anymore. As the night wore on, they devised a plan. Zayn would monitor the area around the cafe where they'd meet Claire, while Liam would keep a close watch on Louis and Harry. They would work in tandem to ensure their safety and gather as much information as possible. When morning finally came, the atmosphere was charged with tension. Harry and Louis dressed carefully, making sure to blend in with the crowd. Louis looked at Harry, determination etched on his face. No matter what happens today, we're in this together, right? Harry nodded, squeezing Louis's hand. Always. As they approached the cafe, Louis felt his heart racing. They spotted Claire sitting at a table outside, nervously glancing around. Louis could see Zayn positioned a few tables away, pretending to be engrossed in his phone. They approached Claire, who looked visibly shaken. You made it, she said, her voice low. But I don't think it's safe here. Let's move inside, Harry suggested, and they quickly slid into a booth, their eyes scanning the room for any signs of trouble. Here's the list, Claire said, sliding a folded piece of paper across the table. But you need to be careful. They've got eyes everywhere, and they're not going to stop until they get what they want. Louis took the paper and opened it, scanning the names and details. His stomach twisted at the thought of the people who had been pulling the strings. Thank you, Claire. This could change everything. Just then, the cafe door swung open, and Louis's heart dropped as he saw a familiar figure step inside. It was one of the men they had encountered earlier, someone from the organization. Claire, he shouted, his voice booming through the cafe. We know you're in here. Panic surged through the group as Claire's eyes widened in horror. We need to go, now. Harry grabbed Louis's arm, pulling him toward the exit. But as they rushed out, they were met with a group of men waiting outside, blocking their path. Going somewhere, one of them sneered. Liam, who had been watching from a distance, rushed toward them. Get back, he shouted, trying to push through the crowd. Liam, Louis cried out, fear gripping him. Run, Liam yelled, but it was too late. The men surged forward, and chaos erupted as everyone scrambled to escape. Louis felt a sharp pain as one of the men grabbed his arm, yanking him backward. You're coming with us, he growled. No, Harry shouted, lunging to grab Louis, but another man shoved him aside. Zayn, who had been watching from a distance, sprang into action, throwing himself at the man holding Louis. Get your hands off him, Zayn shouted, tackling the guy to the ground. Liam, Harry, Louis shouted, trying to break free, but the grip on his arm tightened. In the midst of the chaos, Claire slipped away, darting into the alley beside the cafe, trying to escape the fray. We have to go, she shouted, but her voice was lost in the confusion. Louis, Harry cried, scrambling to his feet as he fought against another man who had tried to grab him. I won't let them take you. Just as the situation began to escalate, a loud siren blared in the distance. The men hesitated, glancing at each other in uncertainty. Police, one of them shouted, and in an instant, they released Louis, turning to flee. Harry dashed to Louis's side, pulling him close. Are you okay? He asked, eyes wide with concern. I think so, Louis gasped, his heart racing. But we need to go. They won't stop until they get us. Liam joined them, adrenaline pumping through his veins. We can't stay here. We need to regroup and figure out our next move. Zayn caught up, panting but fierce. I got the intel, but we need to leave now. They know we're onto them. As they raced down the street, Louis felt a surge of hope and fear mixing inside him. They had come too far to give up now. They had the information they needed, and he wasn't going to let anyone take it away from them.